Hi, my name is Susan Martin, and this is an adaptation of the presentation I made to the attendees of the Greater Victoria Placemaking Network AGM on November 18th, 2024. I'm sorry you missed it in person, but hope that you will find this movie version interesting and informative. When I asked the questions on slide 2 of the audience at the AGM, nobody put up their hand. Nobody in the room still lived in the town or city where they had been born. The age that people had moved from where they were born varied. For myself, for example, my family moved from the UK to Canada when I was about 5.5. Other folks in the room had moved in their late teens or late 20s. Pretty much everyone agreed that moving had had a massive effect on their life, with one person commenting that when they go back to the small town they are from, they like it there, but they no longer really feel they fit in. By contrast, when I have visited London, England, the place where I was born, but for where I lived for less than 6 years, I feel at home in a visceral way that I can't make sense of intellectually. A researcher who is interested in exploring the effect of where you grow up on your life trajectory is economist Raj Chetty. He received his PhD from Harvard University in 2003 and is one of the youngest tenured professors in Harvard's history. He has received numerous awards for his research, including a MacArthur Genius Fellowship and the John Bates Clark Medal given to the economist under 40 whose work is judged to have made the most significant contribution to the field. Some of Chetty's findings are both surprising and also hopeful. It matters very much where you grow up, but if you move from a poor neighbourhood to a better off one when you are still young enough, it can have a big positive impact. In this graph we can see that in families where housing vouchers allowed for a move to a better neighbourhood, children's life trajectory, here represented by earnings as an adult, were very different if they moved before 13, the dark blue line, versus after 13, the light blue line. Another interesting finding is that children who grow up having more cross-class interactions, as Chetty calls them, that is, interactions with people of different economic circumstances than themselves, are much more likely to rise out of poverty. Unfortunately, our tendency as humans to sort ourselves into social groups based on socioeconomic class and form friendships with people who are similar to us are hard ones to influence, but there is some evidence that targeted changes in local policies, like making a wide diversity of housing types available in each neighbourhood so that people of various income levels can all find a place to live next to one another, can help to counteract these natural human tendencies. Other examples of the effect of where we live and the people around us are from the author Eric Kleinenberg, whose most recent book, Palaces for the People, I reviewed for the GVPN blog. Previous to that, he wrote a book that looked at a deadly heatwave in Chicago in 1995. This tragedy really illuminated the importance of being connected to your neighbours, as when Kleinenberg looked in more depth at the event, he found that poor neighbourhoods weren't necessarily the ones that experienced the highest death rate, but rather that the ones where people were most disconnected from one another were where death rates were highest. Also important is this distinction Kleinenberg makes between social infrastructure, which could include the concrete implementations of placemaking, like public seating or little free libraries, and social capital, which is a measure of people's relationships and interpersonal networks. The latter is much more a focus of Chetty's research, while the former is something that Kleinenberg focuses on. The final example of the importance of neighbourliness and neighbours is a close-to-home example, the deadly heat dome of 2021. Again, we see that the lack of social connection can be fatal. Of those that died during the heat dome, over 50% lived alone. You may be asking yourself, what does this all have to do with placemaking? Well, here are the top results of over 20,000 returned from a Google Scholar search on placemaking and social cohesion. What I want to propose, maybe hypothesize is too strong a term, is that placemaking can take the place of or be the seeds of the targeted changes in local policies that Chetty mentions as a way to overcoming socioeconomic segregation and friending bias, and also help with the development of social infrastructure as described by Kleinenberg. At the AGM, I invited those present to come on a placemaking journey with us in 2025. Although you of course weren't present at the AGM, you are more than welcome to join us on this 2025 placemaking journey where we will learn, do, and share together.